Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
Show us your quiv.
Now get your quiv out.
Oh, right. I was thinking of something
man.
else. Get your quiv out.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest on this bonus surfboard review episode of Terrible Happy Talks is Lance Billingsley. Previously, Lance joined me on the show in episode 11, in which he discussed his travels through South America, perspectives on education, getting a gun pulled on him in Argentina, growing up in Ventura, California, surfing in Peru, Mexico, various parts of the Indonesian archipelago, and of course, Bali, where he currently lives and works. On this board review episode, it's called Get Ya Quiv Out, and it's a collection of conversations with average Joes who talk about the surfboards they love and hate. However, I kind of feel like Lance is a step above the average surfer Joe. He's often one of the better surfers in the lineup at Canggu Rivermouth. He'll throw the fins every chance he gets and doesn't mind hitting the air. Today, Lance is with me to share the story behind the boards he is currently riding, the prices of them, dimensions, best conditions they work in, sprays, and I'll find out if the board actually improved his surfing and much, much more. Lance Billingsley, get your quiv out.
Show us your quiv. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. Fuck, it's Friday. Thank fuck.
Oh my God, thank God.
Dude,
Praise
sorry
the
for
gods.
swearing.
Woo!
Sorry for the swearing, Mum. She actually she hit me up with that on the phone the other day.
Mom did.
She's like, she said, I heard you interviewed Dylan Longbottom. You know he's from our area. I was like, yeah. She goes, but I find when you talk to surfers, you swear a lot. I'm like, yeah, I do. Sorry, Mum.
Sorry, Mom. It's kind of, we're talking shit though. I mean, that's the truth.
I know.
We're just hanging. We're talking. We're being honest. We're being real.
I know.
Maybe it's too much for Mom. Sorry, Mom.
Well, she's just, I can't wrap her in cotton wool, Lance.
I feel like your mom's lovely though. I feel bad a little bit.
She's lovely.
For her to have listened to that. So
she's lovely. She's like a saint. She's like a miniature Buddha wrapped covered in hair. Anyway, let's not talk about me, Mum. Let's talk about you and your quiv. What's quiv even stand for? What does it mean?
Yeah, what is the quiv?
What's it short for?
And how many boards designates a quiver?
Okay, this is your first test.
All right, let's go.
What's quiv short for?
Quiver.
Oh, fuck you. If you had got that wrong,
Come
I
on.
was going to pack up all my shit and walk out.
Was that actually a test, or you didn't know and you just wanted to finally find out, so you brought me here?
Nah. I'll pack up all my shit and leave. All right? I'm stressed out, okay? Nah, I'm not stressed out. I'm happy because maybe you can tell us where we are right now.
Yeah, we're sitting in the backyard. It's a golden hour, that might be a California thing, but it's here. I brought it here. It's sunset, backyard, Canggu, but it's in a quiet neighborhood, and you can hear the birds and the bees and the Anderson .Paak in the background.
Yeah, how good's that dude?
He's so
that
good,
dude. I love him. And it's such a rad backyard. You got a nice grassy patch, and you've got your pool, and you've got a few of your boards out. How many boards have you actually got in your quiver at the moment?
Around the world or here in Bali?
Well, here in Bali, how many's sitting there?
I don't know. I feel guilty when I say this a little bit.
Yeah.
I have 11 at the moment.
White privilege.
You too. How many do you have? Immediately turn around back to you. Yeah, I have 11 now. How many I actually use? No, I use all of them.
Well, that's what. Yeah. How many did you actually ride? Really?
I ride all of them. You know what? It's just there's definitely boards I brought from home here that I anticipated would work, and they just don't work here. But I still find uses for them.
So they're more designed for the Californian waves.
Yeah, the waves are more perfect and more powerful here consistently, whereas in California they're just not. They're typically softer, and that's something I don't think I realized. Even when it's good there, it's still fairly soft. These top name point breaks like Rincon and C Street and these waves they're great waves, they're quality waves, but you could still really ride a 20 any day of the week and have a blast almost always, except for some of the bigger beach breaks in which you'd maybe ride something like the Happy over there or the High Performance Shorty. But outside of that one High Performance shortboard, everything else in your quiver, in your quiv, could be alternative craft or 20 quaddy.
Quaddies.
Yeah.
A lot of quaddies in California.
A lot of
knows.
I hate them.
Trestles.
It's fine.
Yeah, I've never really liked quaddies.
No.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, they go better in the barrel. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know if I'm good enough to be like riding them in the barrel.
I mean, but how much time are you spending in the barrel? What about when you exit the barrel?
Well, there you go. Let's honestly tally up the time in the barrel on your quaddie. Someone said to me, oh yeah, like it seems to, like it grabs the wall better in the barrel. I'm like, dude, I'm not getting what? I'm getting shampoos constantly.
I always find that interesting too, because how much time and then if you are on a regular tri-fin, are you ever really sliding? If you recall the time when you were in the barrel and you were sliding on a tri-fin, maybe on a 20, or if you're in a situation where you weren't anticipating the waves being good. But for the most part, I don't find a problem with a tri-fin setup ever.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Tri-fin or thruster?
Thruster sounds better. Let's go thruster.
It sounds sexual.
Yeah, it does. It's Friday. It's been a long week.
I've always thought that. Like, okay, yeah, it is a tri-fin. Like, that would be the most logical way to describe it. But Simon Anderson, the creator of the thruster,
yeah,
like, yeah, I mean, he coined that. That's his. It's great. It's true, but it just sounds like you're thrusting something.
But you're thrusting. What are you thrust? I mean, why am I not thrusting on my quaddie?
Well, you probably are. Yeah. You know, you're thrusting off the bottom, aren't you, to get up to the top?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, man. So, anyway, listen. We're going to talk about surfboards today. And I was driving over here and I was thinking, like, surfboards, like, in surfboard design, I mean, it's such a black art. There's no end to it. And it's an art because it's never, ever going to be perfect. And it's so, I guess, subjective and circumstantial. You agree? And I was thinking, and then it led me to, I started thinking about Jamie O'Brien, and I'm like, Jamie O'Brien has kind of bummed me out on surfboards. Do you know why? Because he makes a mockery of like the heaviest wave on earth, pipeline. He makes a mockery of it on a soft top. And it's like, whereas like there's all these Hawaiian shapers who have been refining their Hawaiian guns for years and years and years. Right. And then Jamie O'Brien paddles out on 12-foot pipe on a soft top he bought from Walmart.
Yeah, they buy them at Costco for $100 and they break them and then you return them to Costco for a full refund at the end. That's no shit.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like I wonder what a lot of the shapers are thinking. Like I know he's a freak and I know he's a good surfer, but then like, he's predominantly riding those catch surfboards in everything, and I see other guys having so much fun on them, and it just makes me think, well, are we taking ourselves too seriously when it comes to boards?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
And then it's like, okay, like who's having the most fun? And it's the dude on a soft top. Yeah. Yeah,
that's the thing that you just said stands out to me too, is that the diversity of shapes, and you can't really replicate the magic board. I heard Taj Bro talking about a board the other day that he had when he won the comp in France, the CT, it was a long time ago, and he had this magic board. He creased it, broke it, and then his filmer fixed it for him the night before the comp, and he went out and won the comp on it against Sonny Garcia. It's in that what's that clip? Montage.
Oh yeah.
Yep. On DVD, watch that 100 times.
Yeah.
Best video ever.
It was epic.
So good.
Sabotage as well.
Sabotage, montage, yeah. But I think there's a certain magic to some boards like that, and you just can't replicate it. This one, for example, the Rocket Wide, I have a second one, exact same dimensions in the house. It doesn't work. Same exact setup. Okay,
so that's really interesting to me. So can you give us a rundown of the Rocket Wide? So I've heard you talk a lot about this board. You actually went and ordered a second one because you liked the first one so much. So what's the dimensions of this one we're looking at? Like,
that's a 5'7". I think the width is something around 19 and then 2 and maybe a quarter, but the width is where it's at, right? Short and wide. So you get the surface area, you get the buoyancy of the larger surface area being covered. That's what that thing functions on purely.
Short and wide. That seems like a real Californian style of shape too, like our America. So short, wide, flat as well. So like low rocker.
Low rocker. Yeah, I mean, it's the dumpster diver 2.0, right? It all started with the Dane boards. It downsized and went wide, and it's the same principle. But for some reason, this one works really well here, too, as long as it's under head-high surf, which is surprising, because this is a tear in California for sure. This would be a go-to.
Okay.
So that's a surprise factor. But this one has the magic, the black one here. The brand new one does not.
Okay, it's black. You've spray painted it black because it was getting old, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I started doing. And it's funny you mentioned Taj because years ago I watched an interview with him and he had like this, he just got a brand new quiver from his sponsor. He had like 15 boards and they were all just like your plain white boards. And then he just got like a can of black spray paint and just messed them up with his own sort of artwork. And he was like, I find like if a board has like, if the graphic or the spray on it is too like good, it doesn't go as well. But when I put these dodgy sprays on it just by hand and rough, they seem to go better.
Totally.
It's so weird. And then I do that now. Like if a board starts to go yellow, I just hate it. I don't feel like riding it. And then I paint it black and I'm like, yeah, it's a new board.
And there's something specifically about the yellow too, like that. It's old. It's not good. We're programmed this way, right? Like,
yeah, we are.
It must not be good anymore because it looks old. I have a Firewire in there, and I think they're notorious. I didn't know this. I threw down $1,000 on a surfboard before I came here, and it went yellow in like 6 months, like so yellow, right? I just quit riding it. It wasn't because it wasn't good. It was fine. It's still good, but I'm just like that's the programming. So I painted it as well, all black. Yeah, I think if you just paint it, you reset it's your mindset, right? It's a total like placebo effect on yourself. It doesn't change the board at all.
Did it go better?
100%.
Really?
In my head.
Yeah.
Not really.
But that's a real thing. If you're not enthusiastic about being on it.
Yeah.
So what's the fin setup you got in that one?
That's a 2+1, so it's just the smaller center. That's the rocket wide, right?
Okay. Just like a little trailer at the back. And
little trailer at the back. Yeah, the regular tri-fin setup is a little too sticky for that board because it's so lively and whips around so quick. It's kind of, if you had a tri-fin, it just catches really, really, it sticks to the face of the wave too much. You need that thing to slide. You kick it loose so easily.
And I noticed it's a swallowtail. Can you maybe tell me what's going on with that stringer, like a carbon stringer? Yeah,
so that's their carbon fiber stringer. I think that they're calling it the Spine Tech, right? So it's stringerless. It's just wrapped with carbon fiber instead. It gives it a livelier feel. I think I can tell. It's an epoxy. It's got a bit of flex to it, and it holds its flex. That board's over a year old, and it's still got a lot of life in it. You know that feeling of like a dead surfboard?
Yeah,
that's
like
still alive.
They lose their pop.
100%.
Like a skateboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about the flex because, I mean, I'm not that technical when it comes to like analyzing boards while I'm surfing them because, my ability probably isn't where it should be to be technical about them. But when I got that rocket wide, I was the one I've got's a 5.5, exact same as your one, but just smaller, and the same fin setup, futures with like twin 20 and a trailer fin. And I rode it at really small shipwrecks at Lombongan, and it was just like a small day. And then I got this, and like usually like this, I got this really nice one, and it sort of bent around the reef, and if it was a bigger day it would have just barreled, but the barrel section turned into like just a nice sort of lip to hit, and so it was quite steep, and I hit the lip, and as I was coming back in, I'm like, oh, here we go, I'm going to nosedive for sure. And then it just felt like the whole thing, like it noticeably just went whoop and bent right into the transition. And then it just like flexed back the other way and then shot me off the bottom. Like I've never remembered a board shooting me off the bottom like that, straight to the like to the lip again. So for my next turn, like it was so low effort. I didn't really feel like I did anything. And that was when I was like, ooh, magic stick, bro.
They're almost like they're hyper surfboards in some ways. You're going turn to turn to turn so fast when you're clicking and when you're surfing well on those boards that it takes you out of yourself a little bit. And that's why it's so addicting riding these boards, because they're so sensitive and lively, and they just go, and if you're sticking your turns, you're gaining speed and momentum out of every maneuver you're doing, which is really impressive with them. It's that trick, that fine line of being, if it's any surf over head high, I find that board is really like, it's out of its element 100%. It's too skatey. I don't know if that makes sense, or it's a good way to describe it.
That's exactly right. And then too light with the epoxy.
Maybe too light, but what does that mean, too skatey? It feels too
like
sensitive.
Loose. Okay. Too loose.
Too loose, yeah.
Which is funny because I was a skateboarder first, I think my whole surfboard journey has been trying to find surfboards that actually feel like a skateboard. Like I'm riding loose trucks on a skateboard. Yeah. And that's why 20s appeal to me a lot, and swallowtails seem to really give me that loose feeling. And they're a lot more forgiving, and it's less work. Do you find that? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, what is the one? I have that Christensen 20. It's amazing, man. That board is so versatile too. I don't have it here. It's in Dinger Pair, but I took that one with me to Nias, or I'll surf it out front at the river mouth, and it just goes.
What is it? The Christensen
20.
So can you give us a breakdown of that board?
It kind of looks like yours over here. A similar kind of outline, like squashed down, but it's got a high performance feel to it. That's just, I don't know. You can really put the thing on rail and it'll drive, and it holds in the face of wave too. It's very fast, almost too fast. I think that was one of the big complaints of guys that are riding it in perfect waves. It outruns the barrel, or it's just a bit too
That's a real thing.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I think with these kind of boards it is, because they're just speed demons, right?
Yeah.
You're not doing top to bottom surfing. You're not bashing the lip, but it absolutely flies, and holds really, really well, even in solid surf. So even at Ziggy's, we had a couple good surfs out there.
Ziggy's, don't mention where that is.
Oh, right.
No one's ever heard of Ziggy's. Okay. All right. And it's like illusions, like it's right there, but no one can see it. Why is that's weird?
It is hidden in plain sight.
Okay. Yeah, the whole 20, like you sort of related it to my 20, which is a Corey Graham, and he is a awesome shaper from Torquay in Victoria, Australia, and he only makes 20s. He's a specialist, and that board, I was actually down there for a little holiday, and I was watching the Rip Curl Pro comp at Bell's with the family, and I walked into that shop and I just seen it on the rack, and I just went, I've got to have that board. Like, doesn't, that when that happens, it's just such a magic thing. Felt good under the arm, but it was like 5'5". I think it's super wide. Like I think it's almost 20 inches wide.
That's the interesting thing. That the part you just said about the feeling under the arm. I think in our heads we collect data on these surfboards we've been riding, even though you say you're whatever level of surfer.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's data you've been collecting since day one of surfing, and I think that feeling is your brain going, yep, that's a board that's worked in the past and it's still working for me now.
Yeah.
Or that's a shape and a size that's always worked well for me, because it doesn't matter. You don't have to read the dimensions on it at all to know that. You throw it under your arm and you know it. Yeah. So what is that? What's happening there? I can't think of anything else other than it just is something my brain's been chewing on and connected to experiences I've had on surfboards that felt similar under my arm. It's something with the weight.
Yeah, good point. Because when you think about it, surfing is so much about feel. And maybe when you're surfing a board, those neurological pathways have been mowed, they've been programmed. And so, yeah, like you said, the data has been downloaded. And then when you do pick it up, put it under the arm, it just goes, yep, that's it, 5'5", flat, right, double concave, single to double concave, boom, boom, boom. So, yeah, good call, bro.
I mean, I've been in shops, ordered boards, waited for them to arrive, they arrive, and I even put on the show like I was stoked. I remember putting it under my arm, a brand new Fever from the shop here, and I was like, oh, bro, stoked. I remember walking out of the shop like, fuck, this thing's going to last for 2 weeks. I'm going to sell it straight away. I'm going to ride it once, I'm going to get rid of it. I knew. I don't know. It was. I let someone else recommend dimensions for me, and even though I knew better, I still went along with it. And yeah, that feel is a big part of it, right? So. Yeah, you got to get what's right for you, huh?
But that Corey Graham 20, I ride a keel fin in it. It's a Captain Finco with future fin boxes, but it's just got this like, again, I'm not that tech savvy with some of the talk about it, but it's got like a really flat, it's got a really small single concave in the front, and then it goes into like a really pronounced double concave in the tail, but then like one huge single channel, and the double concave is like in the single channel. And I'll never forget the first wave I got on it. It's like I could feel the water just getting shot out the back, like it was letting water displace across the bottom of it so efficiently. It was just making me go so fast, And then I remember I was like surfing this place just down from Winky Pop. I think it's called Steps or Boobs, and it's like just like the perfect twin fin wave. It's like really fat. It's just, have you surfed down there?
I rode this 20 at Winkies. So fun.
That whole coastline though, from like Bell's, Winkies, and then you keep going down the coast to Janjuk.
So many setups, huh?
Like, it's just, for me, it's heaven.
It's
that's the other place I could live forever. But anyway, and I just I was going so fast, and then like it shot me, like you said, so far out into the open face. I was like, all I could do was just like a big roundhouse cutback, and it was just like, because the outline profile, like it's got a really, again, it's quite a straight rail, like it doesn't have a lot of curve. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. And I just did this roundhouse cutback, and I just felt like because the rail was straight, it just allowed me just to lay the rail in, and I feel like I just made this huge circle on the wave. And again, that feeling was just like programmed in.
Yeah, it's interesting. So that sounds similar to the Christensen as well. It's a channel out the tail as well, but not quite as deep as Graham, was it?
No, Corey Graham.
Corey Graham.
Yeah.
Is the Corey Graham you have here. That board looks really fun, but it's a similar kind of feeling. When you get to that level of speed, then putting it on rail is like, I remember coming out of a few at Nias with so much speed and you're almost out of control and trying to do a turn and just like almost exploding in the lip. Like doing a turn, I'm like coming down, almost airdropping out of the turn and just flying out into the flats. Like I almost would have hit and skipped off the surface with so much speed, right?
No way.
But
do you think, like, in your opinion, do you think shapers are actually really taking those fine details into consideration?
Which shapers? Because I think there's so many boards being CNC'd now anyways. I don't. I think some guys are for sure. Some people have that. Again, I think it's a magic and a feel, and some of the guys really put it on. Yeah. And these are the guys that are still hand shaping boards. Some of the old school dudes that are shaping classic boards in 20s, and I think it's a similar kind of thing. They're just like they're a part of that culture. It's still hanging on to shaping these boards and going with the feel and what feels good to them, and tuning to their surfer.
Some mates of mine back in Australia, they live in Cronulla, they have been getting boards from Sam Egan. Do you know who Sam Egan is? Luke Egan's father.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And who will only hand shape, dedicated to hand shape, will never get a board machined, you know. So really, like, no two boards are ever exactly the same, you know. But you know, he's just refined that feel and that craft so much that they're just like, well, they've never had custom boards so good, but so like good for them specifically. So they were saying, like, he's got just this innate way of, like, you tell him what you want. I mean, and these are guys that have surfed for years, so they are very, very specific and they know what they want, and he is able to translate their needs into their boards really, really well, but also just communicate, and he's just maintaining that whole, like, shaper surfer relationship that existed, which is really falling away, we know, with the onset of, you know, mass machined boards. And when I had Nev Hyman on the show, he was actually one of the sort of leaders in that movement towards machined boards. Did you know that? Because he just couldn't produce enough boards, and he needed it to be more economically viable. And, you know, he was in high demand, I think, in the late 80s and 90s. And he tells a story about going to Japan, and he was in such a high demand. He was in the shaping bay for 2 weeks, friggin' 20 hours a day. Wow. And he said, I've got to come up with something. Sure. Came up with, like, this, like, hand... Like, it was like a stenciling machine that you just sort of pushed. I forget what he called it, but it's like a machine, but it just sort of like does the shaping, but you're just moving back and forth. It's like I'm having a mental blank. And then it progressed into actual machined boards, and he said now the machine process is, he said, it's better than, it's the best. He goes, like, I'm so amazed at how far it's come, and surfers are in a really good place now because, you know, the boards are just going to be coming out so accurate and so consistent and just way better made.
That makes so much sense too. For those guys in the places where they're getting blanks that are consistently made, I think is such a huge factor, and that's something I'm learning about this place too, is the blanks play such a big role in the flex of the board. Yeah. And the integrity of the board. It's really insane. It's not just shaping the foam. So the foam is actually, a lot of it is blown in Surabaya and brought over here. And I think foam blown in the tropics is a different deal because the humidity affects the blanks in a huge way.
In what way? In what way? Like heavier?
Weaker. Just purely weaker. I mean, you can go into some of the shops here, and I've talked to employees there and say, oh, look at this is one of the black stringers. That's a red stringer. Don't buy the black stringers. They're a really soft batch. And on the side, I kind of gave one like a little gentle touch, and I could just tell I could put my finger right through it if I'd squeezed.
But isn't that the glass coming down?
It's not the glass.
glassing?
That's what's the surprising thing. I would have always thought that as well. But the glass is easy to create that consistently because you're just putting epoxy resin with your catalyst and the fiberglass itself, which is all a pretty standard thing.
Yeah.
It's the blank is the X factor in that 100%. And from my understanding, that's the biggest variable and the hardest thing to control in this place, which is why those blanks that come from Australia are like, it's more expensive, but that's the consistent thing you're getting.
Is it King Foam? King Foam, is that the place in Australia that everyone wants, or is that in California?
You'd know better than me. Clark was the one from home for us originally.
Yeah,
they were the one that closed down.
Business, didn't it?
They did, but they were replaced pretty quickly. There was a big scare. Board prices went through the roof. People freaked out.
Yeah.
And then it was a huge business opportunity, and people went south of the border to Mexico and started up foam blowing companies and were blowing blanks. And in no time there was high quality blanks, and now there's tons of suppliers. So
right.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Have you ever touched just a raw blank?
No. Yeah, I think I have.
Pretty fun. I shaped one in a 20 in San Diego before I came here. I spent about 2.5 weeks in a shaping bay with a shaper.
How was it?
Going through all the steps of shaping.
Yeah.
So cool. It's really humbling, really neat. And they have a really cool factory setup to do that where you can go pay with a buddy, and then you have a legit shaper come in and sponsor you through the whole thing and watch you in every step and yell at you and give you shit for what you're messing up, and then help you sort out the mistakes you make, and you walk away with a glass board and something you ride. And mine actually works really well. It's one of my favorite boards at home. So
no way.
Yeah,
that's rad. Like that's
Super
good
fun.
That it actually works. Like I've heard of people trying to shape their own board, and it's like it's a complete dog. I hate it, and it doesn't work. But I know that I have to do it at least once in my life. I have to do it.
You have to do it.
I've just got to do it once. Like, because I often look at boards and go, like I could do that. Like,
I'd like to do that here.
How hard is it? How hard is it?
Yeah.
But
hard. Yeah,
it's hard. I just don't. Anyway,
I've been asking around here too. And I kind of want to get into one of the shaping bays at some point. I know Red Surf Shop. They'll rent out space there, and you can go use their tools, and they have blanks you can buy off of them and shape in there if you want to.
Maybe we should do that.
It's kind of nice. I'm super keen to do it again. I would 100%. I think it's pretty important though. You actually get someone popping their head in. I don't think I just want the space. I do want someone kind of that I can ask questions to, because then that's when the learning happens. Otherwise, I'm purely just butchering some blanks. Still, I do have some knowledge now, but it's I would like to perfect it with somebody, because I do see friends at home that shape in their garages and they just butcher blank after blank.
Waste money.
Yeah, it's just kind of a waste.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or the learning is just not quite as big.
Yeah, you'd need to have someone with you guiding you through it.
Because how often are you going to shape? Maybe you shape one every couple of years, and if you do it, you want to learn as much as you can. So
that's it, and that's what Dylan said too. He said, he has to be shaping all the time, because it keeps his reflexes and his movements refined and fresh. It's like when you don't have a break from surfing, you lose your feel a little bit, and you're not as responsive, and but when you're surfing every day in, day out, all of a sudden you're on your game and you surf fit. And he talks about like, I get shaping fit, but then you get like average Joes like us, let's go and shape a board and we'll do it once, and we haven't developed that muscle memory or this actual, like, the muscles to use, and he was talking about like the postures that you should be in when you're holding the shaping plane.
100%.
To make like those little refined actual movements, and he has to stretch in between each board.
That makes perfect sense. Planing is terrifying too. You can absolutely destroy blanks really quickly doing that too, and all the work you're doing. So it's like you have to do it with total confidence. It's a totally mindful practice, right? So you go into with confidence. Your breathing is calm. You're just walking in complete sweeps as you're running the planer along the board too. I could totally imagine how he has to stretch afterwards and take a break, and he feels sharp. And then if he falls out of practice, he hasn't shaped in a while. It makes total sense. So
let's take psilocybin and do it.
You want to eat some mushies?
No. Just joking. But I wonder if that would help with like your creativity.
Yeah, definitely would help with creativity. 100%. I imagine it does. I've heard it does.
Yeah, it's a whole nother podcast. Anyway, I listened to a podcast with Joe Rogan about that stuff. Look, let's not go there. Joe Rogan. Anyway.
And Michael Pollan. You got to tell me about that.
Yeah, Michael Pollan. Yeah, who's like a really respected author. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. He's really respected. He was the guy that actually brought out all the data and research about plant-based diets, and now he's just brought out a book about the power of psilocybin.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
Well, that mushrooms run is going through like second and third trials, and if it passes third trials at home for us, it's going to be administered as a therapeutic drug. Yeah, it's very close. It's on its way. Which is really interesting. Yeah,
yeah, and like the data and the research is there now, which is it's getting there.
A plant alternative, never a bad idea, right, Sean?
What's from the earth is of the greatest worth, brother.
There we go.
I don't know where I heard that. I think it was Ben Harper.
Mom.
He was stoned when he said that. Oh, my mum would have said it. She would have said it for sure. She's so good. She's a good. Oh man,
I know.
She's
I like
guru.
your mom. I think your mom's like definitely.
Have
a
you
guru.
met her?
I think no, I haven't met her,
She's
but I
so
know.
wise.
I know
She's going to be here in April. Yeah.
We got to hang out.
Did you? My mum was a hottie too back in the day. How's this? She was walking down the street in Sydney, and the local newspaper said, "Hey, do you want to be a page 3 girl? You're hot." And she's like, "Sure." And they took a photo of her because they used to have a thing called the page 3 girl, or is it the page 2 girl? And every day they'd have a picture of a hot chick, but she wasn't in a bikini or anything. Like she kept her gear on.
Thanks, Mom. Good idea. Wow, how did that make you feel when you were like in middle and high school, though? Wow.
What? That my mother was objectified? I don't.
Did your
like
buddies
it.
get a hold of that magazine?
It was a newspaper, man, and she kept the cutting of it.
Come on, we gotta see that. Where is it?
I'm not showing you.
All right,
dude. Not leaving you alone with that. Anyway, listen. Let's go. Okay, so yeah, the Rocket Wide. We both agree. Sick board. It's actually got me psyched on surfing again. But to be honest, the epoxy I think in Bali is a bit of a bummer. I rode it at Uluwatu, and we went up to Secrets where it was a little bit bigger and the wind was really sort of strong offshore. And I was just having trouble getting into them. And then when I got into them, like it was just like chattering down the face. It couldn't hold. Like it wasn't even a big day, but it just the power and the speed, it just couldn't hold it. It's like the best beach break board I think I've ever ridden, to be honest. Like, and I used to love the pod back in the day when it first came out. And it's like this is like an extension of the pod, maybe even better. And you were comparing it to the dumpster diver too.
Yeah, I think it's a better evolution of the dumpster diver. It makes sense. Like that board is a staple in the Quiv. Yeah, for sure. Definitely a staple.
The Quiv. All right. So what's the next board you want to talk about? What's that yellow thing?
The yellow thing, that's a fun 20, right? That's just a super squishy,
break it down.
Tons of foam packed under the chest. Dead Kook's Ghostfire. It's a little bit older 20 that they shaped. I got it today at a board swap event at Patagonia off this guy. It was too small for him. It was clearly way too small for him. And he's getting rid of it for super cheap. I'm like, this thing looks weird. It doesn't look like it'll work. Grabbed it off him for like $200, took it to the beach, and I couldn't believe it. It is absolutely the fastest board I think I've ever touched.
You got that for $200?
Uh-huh.
That's so rad.
In some of the smallest, junkiest surf ever. But this is a perfect example of the problem here. It's so rarely small enough and soft enough to get that thing to go.
How's that for a good problem?
It's a good problem to have.
Rarely
and that's the thing. I'm never going to get rid of it. I'll fly it home at some point with me, and that's totally fine. It's still a rad board. I love it. Tiny little pulled in, almost like a pin swallowtail, like just a cute little swallowtail off the back. Super loose, no center. Just straight twin, the MRX 20 fins. That's
what it's called, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, they're the FCS, original FCS. And it's funny, I can see where it's been repaired because you've popped those plugs out.
Both, yeah.
They suck those FCS ones, man. Right. Yeah, I think every time I had those, they would pop. I've popped out every board with those, and then the FCS2 came out and they were a bit better.
Yeah, they knew they had to step it up, competing with Future, right? It just makes so much more sense. One box, one screw, stronger. Like,
come on now.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't they think of that straight away? You know. Yeah. Anyway,
so it's loose, it's fast, it's really fun, great. Like really, really just mixes it up though too. Kind of like what we were saying before. It's like. Part of it is just like the magic of having fun too. So that's when you break up the monotony of the shortboards. That's the board.
And it's like a subtle swallow, yeah.
It's a really tiny swallowtail. Yep. Yeah, you can almost put your thumb between it, right?
And the rails look quite like thick and boxy, yeah.
No, they're actually like a baseball bat rail. They're pretty soft, like downturn rail. Yeah. Really, really forgiving. So you can throw it around and really like.
So you can go top to bottom on it
completely.
Yeah,
completely.
I guess it has got quite a pulled in tail.
It's actually got a good little air game to it too. It's got a lot of lift and pop off the top. Yeah,
really. And it's
hard to stick though because it's so slippery, right?
It's PU.
It's PU. Yeah. But glass proper, nice and heavy too. So
okay,
it's like
test number 2. Okay.
Here we go.
And if you don't pass the test, I'm kicking you off the podcast. Ready?
Oh, God.
What does PU stand for?
Polyurethane.
Oh, dude. Bing.
Petrol based. Not the friendliest thing for
Yeah.
our environment, eh, Shian?
Don't you work at the green school and you're riding like a petrol based board?
11 surfboards. Oops.
Yeah.
Epoxy's were.
But that's okay to have 11 surfboards. White
Yeah.
privilege.
Yeah.
But just don't chuck them out.
I think that's it too.
And think of ways to repurpose them.
How do you
Or
repurpose them though?
Give them to a local for starters once you've surfed them into the ground. Come on. Or even if you haven't surfed them into the ground, give them to the locals. Give
Yeah,
them.
if they're not getting enough love for you and enough use, pass them on to someone who will.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
That's cool, man. There's no judgment here.
No judgment. Love you, buddy.
You too, man. All right, let's go. Next one.
Happy.
Almeric.
Yeah, they're happy, right?
They're happy.
So that's the other shortboard.
Okay.
I don't know. It's so funny, man.
It looks like so performance-y. Like, are you trying to get on the world tour
I know,
with
what
that
am I
board?
doing? It's embarrassing. But you have to have it, right?
Why?
Look at where we are. You have to have a high-performance shortboard. You do.
Why?
Because when I go surf Karamas, what else am I going to ride?
What do you mean? The rocket would go great at Karamas.
No, not when it's sizable. Not when
Change
it's
the
doing its
fins.
thing. No, too sticky, too skatey. It's still it's stuck in the face, but you can't. It has the shortness and the flat outline. That has the proper rocker.
Well, what if you had a PU rocket?
The weight would help a little bit.
Increase the weight.
Mm-hmm. That's more of the chatter, though. That's not really with being able to control it. It's still a bit out of control, I think.
Yeah,
I'm with you. There's something funny at this
too.
point about riding shortboards. I'm a little bit like, it's a shortboard. There's no conversation to be had with someone riding down the beach with a cool-looking shortboard, right? It's just like it's kind of obviously a selfish endeavor, and it's not fun. It doesn't have cool colors, and it's not like a quad or a fun setup. It's just it's purely for getting the job done.
Business time.
Business. Gonna lay the hammer. I'm gonna get tubed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna shred. And if you're not shredding, you're a fucking kook.
Yeah. Here's a question. When you ride that board, do you feel like you're having a fight with the wave?
I can get more anger out from the end of my day than I can with any shortboard in my entire quiver. Any board I have my whole quiver with that board for exactly that. I could absolutely lay into like a drop wallet or something like this way harder on that board than the other board.
Yeah, are you more inclined to bog a rail on a turn on that board?
In what kind of surf? In good surf? No.
Yeah. Or any let's say you rode it at a 3-foot cross onshore day.
Yeah, right.
Like, is it going to give you a good time, or is it going to be a pain in the ass?
I think that, but you're getting back to like speed generation, and that's the thing. It's intended for high performance waves, right? So it's
what size and what range of waves would you be surfing that board on?
You could ride it in a step up at Padang, no worries, for sure. Shortboard, I could definitely
ride it as a step up.
I would ride that as a step up. People do.
So what's that? Give me the dimensions on the Happy.
That one's a 5'11".
And
5'11".
It's a squash tail.
18 and a quarter, maybe 2 and
PU.
2 and a quarter PU.
18 and a quarter.
18 and a quarter, 2 and a quarter. Might be 18 and a half.
What sort of volume are we talking? Like 28 liters?
No, not even. I'm right in that sweet high, like mid 26s.
Okay.
High 26s pushing it for a shortboard.
High 26s.
Yeah.
Thin rails.
Pretty knifey.
Knifey rails.
Dude, what it really is, it's a mix, I think, between my brain's been chewing on this one for a while, trying to figure out. I'm like, this board feels familiar. I love the gimmick. It's a Happy. It's new. We pump out 15 new models every year. I think it's a mix between an MBM and an MX, which are like two old, classic, really high-performance shortboards from CI. Yep.
CI.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
I used to work in a surf shop, and we would order these. We had like a bro deal with them. We would get them for like $250. And it was like we would just fire in orders one after the other. I would spend every paycheck on surfboards, right? So I just had stacks of these boards in my house, and we would try them. And we would get the team light glassing because we thought it was cool, and we didn't give a shit. We'd break them, whatever, didn't matter.
In California, does everyone ride Merricks?
No, there's so many shapers there. So just in Ventura, I mean, there's like Robert Weiner. He's a good shaper that I grew up. He would also shape boards for me too. And I'd just run in the back of his shop, and he would take boards that I really loved and copy them, and or he'd try to like custom boards. He's a really good shaper now. He's like come a long way too, which is super impressive.
Yeah,
it's good to see. But there's a diversity of shapers at home for sure. So a lot of options. But Channel Islands are the go-to. But it's also kind of like here we go. Everyone's got a CI. It's kind of it's like the easy thing off the rack. Everyone knows they're popped out of a machine, but they work.
Yeah, and they're a lot cheaper there than they are in Australia. Like Channel Island boards, our Merricks they're $1,000 surfboards.
Okay, wow.
Australian dollars.
Yeah.
And even over here, it's comparative. Like they're expensive, even though they're machined and glassed here.
Crazy, huh?
And then the same price.
They're the same price here.
As Australia. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
In that range.
They're in that range.
Yeah.
But you notice it's easier to get a deal here. Like it seems like they have more room to work, whereas back home it's like you're paying full price plus tax. Don't even try. Like it's not a thing.
We'll give you a block of wax.
We'll give you a block of wax. 20% off on a tail pad.
See, that's what bums me out. Because like they put like the biggest markups on tail pads, and come on, like they must get them made in factories for like $2 and mass produced.
100%.
They put $60 on them and stuff like that. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Well done. Well played.
Totally. 20% lighter, stronger.
But then I'm sure a lot of shapers and surfboard companies would argue that, and I've heard this a lot, that there's a low markup in surfboards.
On boards, yeah. I remember the market was no more than about $100 for a long time when I was in the shop.
Okay.
So it's like there's not really much room to move. It was all about the soft goods or the like the additional items like the leash and the tailpad that are actually really important to sell that stuff. 'Cause that's where all the good margins were.
Yeah, interesting.
So
next board in the quiv that you pulled out, like, so I sort of, when I asked you to be on this show, for Get Your Quiv Out, I said, like, don't get all of your 11 boards out. All right. Just pick like 3 or 4. And the 4th board that you've picked out is the Catch Surf Foamy. Yes?
Foamy, finless.
What's it called? What's the model? Break it down. Describe it.
I'm just going to call it the little wedge. It's just a finless.
Isn't it a beater?
It's a type of beater. Yeah, it's a little 411. But
it must have a name.
It's a finless beater.
Don't they have a name for it? The Catch Surf something?
Yeah, I just call it a beater. At home we call it a black ball beater, but they might have a name for it that I don't know off the top of my head.
It's not on the board?
No.
No,
it's
okay.
not on there.
So, like, yeah, give me a breakdown, because it looks kind of tech. Like, no fins, but then it's got, like, deep channels in the tail.
Yeah, it's kind of lame, actually, to be honest. It has these channels and it kind of holds too much. It doesn't spin and get crazy.
It doesn't.
I bought it because I was like, oh, this thing's going to be impossible to ride. It'll be super fun. I'll go and just whip a bunch of 360s. And
can you?
It actually kind of, like, turns and goes down the line, which is a bit boring.
And, like, top to bottom?
No, not top to bottom, but it's just like...
Why'd you get it? I'm curious. Why did you buy it? Was it? Did you get Was the marketing campaign just so good it just sold it to you?
No, so at home, actually, on the beach one day in the trash can, we found a soft top that was broken in half. My buddy Mark and I, we finished sawing it in half into 2 pieces, and we took the front half, which is probably about like 4.5 feet, something like this, and then we would go and ride it, and you can only ride it one direction from the nose side, but it would absolutely fly down the line.
Okay.
And so we had this thing. It was kind of tricky to ride, but it would just, it was jamming, right? Really fun and like big smile on your face. It's kind of difficult to ride. You could do big at the end I was doing shove-its like pretty consistently on it, and it was like a blast, right? So I was like, I'm going to relive that thing. One day I surfing this high tide river mouth wave, and I lost it. It snuck up the river and I lost it. It's really weird. It's gone forever. It's gone. Yeah, I lost it. It's gone. It was almost like a symbol. It was like it was time to let it go. Like I found it on the beach and I lost it at the same beach.
It's just like a piece of foam.
It just drifted up. Yeah, my buddy and I went running looking for it. It was up this estuary called Cardiff Reef. Right. Up the estuary, and it's like right in front of Rob Machado's house, and it's just lost like in the rocks there. So we just sent it back off.
Yeah.
Donated it to the gods, let it go.
I heard. I actually know what happened to it. Rob Machado found it, and then he cut it up and made a comb out of it and combed his hair with it, because he's got that beautiful hair.
A lice comb, or was it a regular?
Do you reckon he'd get lice with all that curly hair?
No way. I don't think lice would want to go anywhere near that hair, man. Like it's got to be toxic.
Like it's rat hair. I mean, like, because like, you know how you're receding.
I mean, I think that's just you because you used to have dreads. There's like you're like partial to this thing, and you're envious, and you wish you had your old dreads. But yeah, like probably what also made you lose your hair too, right? This is what Joubert told me.
No, I mean, Joubert's losing his hair. Let's be honest.
He used to have dreads.
Hey, look, that rhymes. Joubert's losing his hair.
Yeah.
But do you ever look at Rob Machado's hair and go, "Oh man, I wish I wasn't receding"?
Yeah, he has amazing hair, right?
Pretty rad hair.
Part of his flow, for sure. I mean, you must, it sounds like, but...
No, but, like, let's be honest. It does improve the aesthetic of his surfing.
100%.
I mean, I've always loved his style.
Oh, shit, we were just talking about this last night.
Fuck, it's the best fucking style. Let's be honest. I love it. And he's a goofy footer, and I hate goofy footers. But...
Yeah.
I don't hate goofy footers. But... Yeah, like when when he's surfing and he's got the hair going and his whole stance and...
I mean, that's 2 points we said last night are really big. I think the knock knee and the hair put so much into that effort that you could take an average to above average surfer and make them top-notch hipster style pro.
Yeah.
Swagger god.
I know what you mean by the knock knee, but can you break it down for the listeners? Like the knock knee, that back leg, and you bring that knee in slightly.
Yeah, we also call it the Craig leg. It's like the you just bend in that wobbly back knee, and you kind of drop it down and about midway, and it just gives that extra little bit of style. It gives you a bit of slump in your waist. It kind of like forces you to arch your back a little bit. I think it's that whole thing. It's just like ultra cash. Something about it is just like, oh, I'm so comfortable. I'm just going to even stand kind of like in a way that's like.
And you know what else it does? Like from a biomechanical perspective, it actually makes you lower. It lowers your center of gravity without like, and it keeps your back straight at the same time. So you're not bending over like you're taking a poo, but you're getting low.
That's it.
I reckon that's what it is.
I mean, that's barrel riding. That's like the technical aspect of riding the barrel that makes you fit into the tube on your forehand, really?
Because that's how I barrel ride. Like, I look like I'm trying to take a poo in the barrel.
That's why you're not knocking your knee in.
But then you bring the knee in, it's like, nah, dude,
knee.
I've got my back straight.
Pivot those feet, knock that knee a little bit.
And it helps with control, too.
100%. It's a bit of an awkward move, though. It almost feels wrong. Like, I don't know, it feels a little bit uncomfortable and weird, but that's the style. Yeah, we were watching a Michael February clip yesterday, and it's like, he shreds, but really it's the knock knee and the hair adds so much to what that whole thing is. It's just,
it's real.
It's an image. It's brandable. It's totally brandable.
But it makes you want to watch him.
It does, and it makes you relax too. I watch clips of him, like, oh, cool, like, nice.
It's cool, man.
Like
it's more than just the really good surfing. It's the whole package. Like skateboarders are notorious for that. Like there's skaters who, you know, maybe aren't doing the hardest tricks and the craziest shit, but they just look really good on a surfboard, on a skateboard like that. You know, like even from they've got really good fashion sense, and you know, they're just those little intricacies of style that we were just talking about. And it just, sometimes I'd rather watch a skateboarder do a really simple trick super stylishly than some really hard shit ugly. You know, so. Yeah,
trying too hard never looks good either, right? There's only so much. I heard an interview with Gabriel Mendina the other day, and they were talking about, someone asked him what makes him happy or what gives him joy in surfing, and he just said winning. That's it, winning comps. You know, so you watch him do all this stuff that you wish you could do, but the soul of all of it, none of it makes him happy or gets him stoked, and that makes me that makes me so sad. I'm like, oh my God, look at this guy. He does these incredible things, and it's like, doesn't give him joy, right?
And
so just maybe goes to show that the purists are maybe right, that it's all about the best surfer is the one having the most fun too.
Yeah, exactly. And like you hear that all the time about Gabriel Medina. They're like he is an amazing surfer. There's no way you can argue with that. And I actually think his style has improved a lot. But I'd much rather watch Dane Reynolds any day of the week. You know? Yeah.
But he's on the total opposite end of that one too. Dane's in the very extreme powerhouse. I mean, his legs are like tree trunks. Yeah. The turns he does are so unconventional, right? They're just like so much power. I think he's just built this to lay down those Dane turns.
Okay, so the beater or the catch surf foamy, pretty stoked on it, yeah?
Yeah, totally stoked on it.
Okay.
I just found out today the temples that are open to facing the house, like the one is here, can actually, they're way more susceptible to like the good juju and the bad juju, and mine are not closed in, so there's something happening here that I didn't know about.
Dude, you really want to talk? Like, you really think there's a bad juju happening?
It's not a bad juju. It just needs more attention, is what my understanding is. It needs more love. It needs more offerings.
Putting offerings in it every day.
It needs more, apparently. So, anyways.
And are you noticing a difference in the property?
Well, it needs to happen, but apparently this place is full of spirits, is what I was told. Someone came and blessed the place and said it was full of bad spirits, but they got them all out with the holy water.
It's good. I feel good energy here.
I do too.
I feel good, like, except for like, you know, you sort of like a bad attitude about my hair and stuff. Like, apart from that, everything's really good here.
No, I mean, your overcompensation with your facial hair is really doing the trick. It's keep my mind off your head, so don't worry. Yeah. The stash is nice.
And dude, when you thank you, bro. And you know what, man? I reckon like when you reach puberty, you could do the same.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
Love you too, man.
Yeah. All right, so man, okay, so there are your boards. There, you got your quiv out.
Got my quiv out.
Yeah.
What about you? What are we looking at over here? Tell me what you think.
I won't go into as much depth because it's sort of similar. I've sort of picked the same sort of boards. But, yeah, the Rocket Wide, love it. Still brand new. I mean, I've had it for maybe a month now. Had a bunch of surfs on it. Absolutely love it.
You had one. There's one over there. It's a 5-fin setup. I just wanted to ask you what you thought about this. I heard the other day, because for a while they were drilling and dropping in these boxes, these 5-fin setups, and I heard from a shaper the other day that it actually changes something called the torsional flex on the tail. So by dropping those boxes in, you actually change that. So it can ruin the kind of authenticity of the shape by doing it. And I was always told from these surf shops that what you should do is just get all 5 and then you can play with it because it's in their benefit. It costs more money. You have more fin setups, but it's not really actually helping necessarily. So I'm kind of curious. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, the story behind that board, it's the Slater Designs Sci-Fi model. The Quicksilver Pro, I think it was like 2016. There was a surfer who wrote, oh God, I forget his name. I know it because I remember it was such a big moment for him. Not Adam Melling. I'm having the biggest mental blank. If you're listening to this and you remember, can you just DM me? Anyway, he wrote it. He was like introduced it to the world, and he was a wild card at the Quickie Pro at Snapper Rocks. Beat all the top seeds, beat everyone, and made it to the semis, I think, on it as a wild card. And everyone's like, "What's that board he's riding?" You know. And it was the Sci-Fi, and it's got like that.
It wasn't. It was Adam Melling.
Was it Adam Melling?
Yeah.
No. Okay, maybe it was Adam Melling. Yeah, but anyway, he absolutely just went ballistic on it, and it's got like two hips, sort of like a double flyer, I guess you'd call it, in the outline profile.
Yeah. And
the first one is like sort of right next to the 2 side fins, and then it has a second one, and I think they call it like a bat tail type deal.
Looks like a bat tail, yep.
And then it's got like these really pronounced channels in the bottom. It's like 4-channel bottom with 5 fins. It's epoxy. It's made out of eco-friendly materials. It's got that really progressive stringer where it's like this compressed carbon foam that's super hard. Again, I don't know the technicalities of it because I'm just an average Joe, but I was just like, I want to surf like that dude, and it's Kelly Slater, and it's eco-friendly.
Yeah.
And then my wife actually bought it for me for my 40th birthday.
So sweet.
As a 40th birthday present, because it was expensive, dude. But she's like, "Well, it's your 40th birthday, you know." And I said, "Oh, well, that's nice. You know, I've worked hard to get here.
Gotta enjoy it, buddy.
Yeah, I can't believe I made it to 40. Yes,
totally.
Anyway, so then I got there, and then I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I took it to the Mentawais and I rode it at Macaroni's.
Yeah.
And it was great when there was no wind or super glassy. But the second there was even light chop on the face of the wave, I just felt like it was just skipping out. It wouldn't grab the rail. It was really chattery. It felt very like, I guess tinny. And chattery, and I don't. And then
epoxies, those really tough, hard constructions. It's almost like the Firewire too. Sorry to interrupt you. That's like, it just sometimes you come down on them too, and it almost feels like you're coming down on a concrete slab.
I can't believe you said that.
Stiff.
Exactly.
They're so damn stiff. It's like I think about trying to do airs on this board sometimes, and I'm like, fuck, man, I'm gonna break my ankle just on the impact of trying to stick this thing if I go too big, because it's like there's no give to them. They're so stiff, which is also why it's kind of beautiful too, right? Because it'll last forever as long as you keep it painted and you don't show off how yellow that thing actually is. I know it is. And,
so yellow.
Yeah, then you could ride it forever. So I think that Firewire is always my backup board, especially if I have friends visiting. I'm like, yeah, you take this one. You can borrow this. No worries.
But it's funny you should say that, because I've had this ongoing ankle injury, and I think I did like a really little floater on it, or hit the end section and sort of landed in the flats a little bit one day. And I felt the same, exactly how you described it. Like I was landing straight on concrete. And then I met a guy, he was the photographer at Macaroni's. And he was like, he's seen it. He goes, "I'll never ride a Firewire ever again." He goes, because he's right into his air game. And he said, I snapped my ankle. He said, I landed in the flats, did a bit of a fairly big air, landed. And he said, most like a PU board, most normal PU boards, I probably would have put my foot through the board and it would have absorbed the impact. He goes, but nah. And he goes, I had to have a surgery, a plate. I was in a cast for 8 weeks. He said It was hell, and he just blamed that because I was too hard. Like, but I don't know if it was the actual epoxy that was or the foam that's being used in it.
Have you seen
the lack of flex?
The cross sections of them, if you ever see a slice of them, you get them in some surf shops, they'll have it so you can see it on display. It's like this crazy sandwich construction. So it's layer upon layer of this like dense surfboard material. And I mean, that's it. It's like their whole MO when they first came out, before they started making them in Thailand, they were unbreakable was what was happening. So no one was buying a second one. And so they changed the material. They actually softened it up. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like a thing where people bought the first round of them. They're like, fuck, I have to buy another board. It's sweet.
Yeah.
But that's the other real downside, is that they just don't break either, and they don't give. At the end of the day, you want your board to give rather than your bones.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. I do respect that, though, they're tough enough to not break. And if you're, I guess, like, I don't know, I'm not a progressive surfer, but yeah, it was really disappointing for me, because it was like, I liked the ethics behind them, and I liked the look of the shape. And yes, when it was perfect waves with no wind, I think I did a turn on that board that was maybe one of the best turns I've ever done. Yeah. But then that was it. And to be honest, like, and then it went yellow straight away. I painted it black, and I never want to touch it. I never want to ride it. And I'm disappointed in the goat.
Disappointed a little bit. Yeah, almost like a little bit too on the, like, they're going too far to the right in like the scientific community with the just getting weird with the surfboard construction and trying to get as tech as possible. And it's kind of like,
a bit too
but that's good. That's what you're trying to do, trying to push the limits on that end. I noticed something you said was that your ability or level, you're not too sure, or sometimes you feel like, what can I say about this? But I kind of want to push back a little bit on that, and I feel like what you're able to talk about is all these things, all the technical aspects of these boards, in a really cognizant and important way. And I think really the only technical part, if we're talking about throwing the fins and a moment of fin engagement, and we're talking about different styles of fins, like the rake or one of these important components in the fins, that's one thing. But in reality, I think your experience is not that different than my experience with these surfboards, or a professional surfer's experience. You still have that same ability to make that judgment. So I think that's something we forget, and we lend too much faith in the surf shop employee to guide us to these boards, when in reality, I think you know exactly what works well for you and what doesn't. And I think there's a lot of magic under the arm, and I think you're picking the right boards, and some that aren't right too, but I think we're both doing similar things, which is just exploring different shapes and analyzing what they are. And I think that's what I want to keep getting better at too, having this chat.
And some of the journey as well. Like, it's all part of the journey. Like, when I bought that Rocket White, I was actually tossing up between this DHD 20. Like, and actually, I know you've got to go.
Oh, so, you're right. Yeah.
And I've been researching it and looking at it.
Oh, those really DHD 20s are sick.
Oh, so good. Like, I really love the look of it, and even the aesthetic of it. Like,
they did a review right now on there's one on Stab. My buddy Michael Sierramella did a review on the DHD Twin. You gotta check it out. Oh, it's sick.
I knew it, and like, to be honest, like, everything about it, I was like, yep, I could just feel it was the right board, you know.
Yep.
But I was I'm just gonna go down to Channel Islands and have a look at the Rocket. But the guy that works there, I think he's a friend of yours. Cal, is it?
At CI or which?
CI.
On Charlie.
On board, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, legend.
Chaza.
And straight away, it was like the banter was there. He wasn't selling it to me, but he just knew what he was talking about. But when I was in the Rip Curl shop looking at the DHDs, I was like, oh, can you tell me something about this board? He's like, yeah, it's 8 million. It's 8 million rupiah. I'm like, no, can you tell me some more about it? Yep. Like, do you have a 5'6"? Oh, what do you mean 5'6"? Like, 5'6"? You know, like, it was just like, I can't buy it off you.
Yeah.
But with him, he's like, yeah, man, I'll hook you up with a tail pad and wax, and you know what? Chuck the fins in as well. Come on, let's do it. You know, just got me psyched up. Like, and that is what I enjoy. Like, as well, like, I want that when I'm going to spend that much money for a board as an average Joe. I'm not getting free shit. I'm not getting free boards.
Yeah.
I want to be sold. I want to be feel good about my purchase.
There's a certain magic in that moment too, of walking out feeling stoked, that you carry into the surf and you associate with that board as well, right? So there's definitely some kind of experience that's happening there too. And I think there was a shop I walked into recently, I didn't have that, and I was like, should I get the board anyways? And I didn't. Now I'm glad I didn't. But it's a funny one, right? Because it's at some point, I think we actually have more knowledge than a lot of the employees in there about boards, based upon our own experience. Yeah. And then you kind of become guided by these people too. I don't know that I totally jive with the whole experience, to be honest, because I still think at the end of the day, it's a lot of corporate kind of push for certain shapes too, and it's kind of, am I being true to what I want to be writing? I don't know. I don't think that necessarily is the case. So I think it's good to keep exploring, and like you're saying, there's so many options too. It's like,
it's great, and that's what I love about it. It never ends.
Yeah, it's endless.
Like we can just keep talking about it. I mean, yeah, we can just keep. It'll never end. You know?
Totally.
And then that's what's so beautiful about it. Anyway, man.
Yeah.
It's been epic.
Yeah, it's super nice, dude.
It's been an hour and 3 minutes. The first bonus episode of Get Your Quiv Out.
Show us your quiv.
No, Get Your Quiv Out.
Oh, right. I was
Come
thinking
on,
of something
man.
else. Get your quiv out.
Get Your Quiv Out, bro.
All right.
Get Your Quiv Out. And then I don't refine the name, but it's going to be like Average Joe's Board Review. Talking about boards they love and boards they hate.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that too. I think it'd be really nice to get into some shapes that you don't like too. That'd be a cool avenue to jump into and kind of look at that as well.
Well, I think I sort of said that with the sci-fi.
Totally.
I hope the goat doesn't hear this.
I hope the goat does hear this.
I don't think the goat.
He needs to step up his game,
He's not going to listen to
dude.
this. He won't listen to this.
Never know, Shan.
Dude, he can do whatever he wants. He's a fucking goat.
Well,
remember you said you were going to get him on the podcast?
should we get him on the podcast?
Remember when we seen him at Karamas that night?
Oh, he was such a goat. Yeah.
How's his aura?
Yeah, super. Just like, I think you and I both knew. Didn't we both stop whatever we're doing and turn around and look at him?
Yeah.
Or you nudged me, you're like, look back, and he's got his hat on. He's like super sleek,
And
super low profile. And then we turn back around 2 seconds later, and he's just like vanished.
I know. It's like time stood still.
Yeah.
And it was like a little halo above
I remember
his head.
everything that happened in that moment.
Do you?
Sights, sounds, smells, everything. Yeah.
And then apparently after that he impregnated every girl in Bali.
Yeah, he
after.
should have. Those lucky girls.
And then he won the lotto. Like he won the lottery. Yeah. And then when he was finished, he went and built another wave pool that no one knows about.
Right.
He did all that in the one night.
He could. If anyone could, it's him.
Yeah.
He just can't shape a great board yet.
But he fucked up that board. But you know what? I got it for my 40th, and when I was in Indo, this Indo dude in Sumatra, in Mentawais, painted a picture of my daughter's face on it. I showed him a photo, and it was beautiful, and so I'll always keep that board.
You got to keep it forever. Yeah.
Yep. And that's it. Get your quiv out with Lance Billingsley.
Get your quiv out.
Thanks for being on, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, dude. How good is that?
All right, man.
Oh,
Let's get amongst it. Let's go and have an ice bath.
Ice bath, baby. Ice, baby.
Are you up for ice bath?
Ice,
You
baby.
want to do ice bath?
Ice, baby.
Icing. Let's ice the shit. Ew.